Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Is it gonna hurt bad?
Oh, child. Only for a second, sugar. A handgun bullet travels at more than
700 miles.
700 miles an hour. So at close range like this, the force is going to take you off your feet for sure, but it's really no more painful than a punch in the chest.
Why are you getting punched in the chest?
You're going to be fine, baby doll.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday movie show, taking place on a Monday, as we do try to make it Monday, but a little bit later, which is down to my issues with things today. Starting live a little bit later than 8:30, which is what we're going to try and do at 8 o'clock, but never mind that. We're going to go on to do hopefully a decent show this week. 2nd of February 2015, for anyone listening on the podcast or later in the year or in the future, you're listening to the past. You're listening to me, Andrew, and my co-host.
That was a very muddled up intro, but I'm Stuart.
I know, but I'm trying new things.
You need to script things out a little bit more, bullet point them, see which way you're going to actually lay them out, lay the foundations.
Bullet points are boring.
Yeah, well, I write down notes, so I've got a plethora of notes.
I actually have. Listen. I actually have notes in front of me.
The thing is, though, if we were doing this on camera, so if we did sort of like a YouTube kind of Twitch stream of the show itself, or a bit like 5 Live when they have the cameras up broadcasting their studio, they would just see just my desk covered in paper. Because that's all. I've got about 6 sheets of paper for the show tonight, and we still make mistakes. Well,
yeah, mine's got loads of paper. Mine has got also. I'm looking at a spoon for some reason there. A DVD and pens. Lots of pens.
Yeah, lots of pens and a ticket from the Sunderland game on Saturday. Even though I support Newcastle.
Yeah,
but that's football, not films.
Yeah, films though is what we're here for, and we're covering these ones.
In the cinema section we have the latest film from. Why was I thinking Michael Vaughan? Michael Vaughan's a cricketer. Yeah, Michael Vaughan's a cricketer.
You're all about on the sport this evening, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, the latest film from Matthew Vaughn, from the pen of Matthew Vaughn, with Kingsman: The Secret Service. We have an animated feature from Disney with Big Hero 6. Paul Thomas Anderson's latest, very quirky film, and if you know Paul Thomas Anderson's movies, you know he's kind of ultra, with Inherent Vice. Ewan McGregor in Australian thriller Son of a Gun, and we have a small drama in Trash.
Yeah, oddly enough, none of them having sport in them. It's a shame that last week we had the draft day, and everything, and given that it was the
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, yes, thank you. I can think of the word.
I can get the sports stuff right, so if I can get the sports stuff right and you can get the films right, then maybe we can have a coherent show of sorts. Not going to happen.
Think that's going to happen? No.
No.
Yeah, but then after that, obviously, of course, we're going on to DVDs and Blu Rays for home releases, which are these films.
David Fincher's Gone Girl. We have a very strange drama thriller with hints of comedy in Maps to the Stars. Horror with Jezebel. Romantic comedy with If I Stay. Australian horror with Roadkill. And then comedy horror. So it's very horrific in the Blu-ray and DVD section with Life After Beth.
Yep. As well as that, we have a look at some movie news and the UK DVD, UK DVD and Blu-ray and cinema releases top 10s as well, which we'll go into in just a moment. But first, let's go into that news, which I haven't got any this week, so it's all down to you.
Yeah, we'll kick off with a release date that's been brought forward. I haven't wrote it down, but I thought I would include this on the off. So Mission Impossible 5, it's been moved forward from December 25th. Or December 26th, because we obviously don't get films released on Christmas Day over here, to July 31st.
That's the thing we were just saying. It's amazing. That's a massive jump forward of like half a year, and it's making me think about next week. We've got Jupiter Ascending coming out, which was delayed 8 to 9 months from its original release date last year. So just goes to show you how much a film can jump around by half a year, more than that. It's incredible, it's insane. But to bring it forward is really something confident. They're really Paramount must be really chomping at the bit to get this out. Either that, or as we were saying, they just don't want to go up against Star Wars.
It just depends on what state the film's in. Would it be a bit too much for the film to actually be brought forward that much, or do they, from what they've seen, from what the state of the film is in, do they think that they're thinking to themselves, actually, it can be finished before the Star Wars date, and we'll just bring it forward this much?
Well, the thing is, I don't remember seeing anything said about it yet. There may have been, I just missed it, that they had actually started filming yet. I didn't know if they had.
Well, they did, because there was stories that there was a few little accidents here and there on the sets, but that's obviously going to be the case with a Mission Impossible film. You're going to get some accidents here and there, and Simon Pegg has been saying that he's been shooting stuff, and so it had been shooting, but it must be in a finished state and getting ready to be properly edited together or whatever, but we still yet to see a trailer.
Yeah, I mean, the thing, trailers now, you used to be able to gauge a trailer would come out so much, and always sort of quite a long, steady time ahead of the film, at least 3 months, and sometimes even up to 6 or 7 months, earlier than the film itself, maybe even more than that. And now it's all over the place. Sometimes you get a trailer straight away, and you've got a long wait. Sometimes you get nothing at all. Sometimes you get a very tiny thing that really doesn't have any footage, because they don't have any footage. And then you get a big trailer, a month before it comes out. So I guess we're in that kind of thing now, where films are being made and on such a rush schedule that trailers come sort of second place.
I'll be interested to see what state the film's in, whereabouts the film, because like I said, it must be finished shooting. Maybe there's a few little pickup shots here and there, but it must be definitely on its editing stage already. So it'll just be interesting to see the state of the film when it does come out on July 31st.
I'm looking forward to it because of the fact it's Joe Carnahan. And Joe Carnahan is quite, from what I've seen, because I've only seen stuff and I've learnt some things from behind the scenes of him. He's only done really Way of the Gun and Jack Reacher, and I like both his films. They are very. He's quite a sort of I want to say indie director, but I mean Jack Reacher's not an indie film. Way of the Gun is, but Jack Reacher's got that kind of very indie, very simplified, almost sort of Clint Eastwood style sort of. Which we'll get to in the top 10, sort of very reserved and quick and simple filming, and so maybe he's been able to just film things quickly.
Yeah, just to put it in context, it's now, instead of going up against Star Wars, released the week before, it is going to be Disney's Inside Out, which it's a Disney film, so a lot of people will go to flock to see that. But the week that it's out, it's going up against Magic Mike XXL, Poltergeist. So they're the two films that it's actually going up against. So you could obviously look at that and think that is the strongest film out that week. Right. So now you see that maybe it's the reason why.
Well, that week I know you'll be reviewing Poltergeist. I'll probably be reviewing. I'll probably get lumped with Magic Mike, won't I? Knowing you, you won't want to go and see Magic Mike in the cinema. So we're going to be fighting over Mission Impossible.
The other two films released at the same date. There's a film called Southpaw. And then there's a film called Dr. Proctor's Fart Powder.
Not it.
And I am not making that up. There is a film released on Friday the 31st of July called Dr. Proctor's Fart Powder. Yeah.
I've been trying to convince my other half to go and see something else that comes out next week.
On Friday?
Yeah.
I probably can guess what it is. Does it involve a plasticine character?
Yes.
I know. Yep. Right, other news. According to reports, 20th Century Fox has approached Liam Hemsworth to play the lead role in Independence Day 2. Michael B. Jordan is also rumoured to be playing a role in the sequel as well.
Sorry, what?
Independence Day 2?
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan taking, I would say, the role of Will Smith.
until Michael. I'm sorry, Michael B. Jordan. As much as he's an okay actor, he's not Will Smith. He's neither tall enough or has the ears that stick out enough.
I was going to say, the acting enough, but I think he was really, really good in Fruitfield Station.
I think he's good. He's a good actor. He's a decent actor, and if he's going in the right direction, I mean, the thing is, Will Smith's a good actor, but he doesn't apply. Well, yeah, he doesn't apply his acting to the films that I think he doesn't think need it. He thinks like, as much as I didn't think it was a great film. What was there's two films in particular. £7. £7.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Life of Happiness.
Pursuit of Happiness.
Pursuit of Happiness. That's it. Yeah. And he's a really, really good actor when he's really focused on it. But then he goes and does things like,
After Earth.
Well, that's a whole other thing. But
he does do them.
No, but he does. Yeah, but he does. I mean, in that at least it was bad. But he was trying to act. He was trying to give us this weird thing. But I mean, things like
third Men in Black.
Things like Hitch. Men in Black is a different thing. I didn't mind it. It is tongue in cheek anyway. But it's thing like Hitch is a comedy, but he didn't really play it. He just played it as a. He didn't. It's like he's doing it. It was literally a cash cow comedy for him, I think, and it shows when it's a cash cow. When it's a film he's really committed to, there is a big difference in him. Michael B. Jordan, I haven't seen enough things yet of him to say that he's like that, but I suspect he's not as much of a cash cow actor as Will Smith is.
Well, he's in Fantastic Four. We'll see how that's going to do as well. The trailer did not impress. So,
the trailer
but
impressed. I just didn't think it was Fantastic Four.
I didn't think it impressed at all. I thought it was very mundane, very typical, very just let's have a somber mood to it and a few little action set pieces, very much like the Avengers Age of Ultron trailer. The spot that was shown during the Super Bowl was much better than the previous Avengers trailer, but it didn't impress both trailers, to be honest. According to Deadline, Chris Pratt is being considered to lead a possible Indiana Jones revival from Disney. The studio has been actively seeking a way to revive the series after the 2008 release of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
The thing is, I have an issue with this. If they're going to recast him in Harrison Ford's roles as kind of a younger Harrison Ford-alike, do you like that? No?
Yeah.
Then obviously the one that they're talking about, because they were talking about having Ryan Gosling play a young Han Solo in the Star Wars spin-offs and do a Star Wars one. But you couldn't really cast Chris Pratt in Star Wars now because of Guardians of the Galaxy. It would be too close. It would be too similar. So I think he'd maybe be good as an Indiana Jones film, but I think there'd be that connection there for me that it'd always be in the back of my mind of, oh yeah, he's Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford, Han Solo. No, can't do it. That's too much of a connection for me.
No, I think that's just loose beyond loose. That's just a bad reasoning in that case. He's just... I just think it's the fact that he's done brilliant for himself with Guardians of the Galaxy, and there are so many rumours and things like that latching onto Chris Pratt because he looked very Indiana Jones. Even in just when you see him as an adult for the first time in Guardians of the Galaxy, very in modern Indiana Jones. And Disney thought, yes, that's how we need the Indiana Jones to look like, rather than the professor kind of character. We've done that now over 4 films. We want them to look more modern, so that's the kind of thing what we're doing. And it just seems to be an oversaturation of Chris Pratt at the moment, him being put into so many different roles. It's not just this, it's multiple films that he's supposedly in.
Jurassic Park, that he does look very Indiana Jones-ish in the trailers for
Jurassic World,
Jurassic World, sorry, yeah.
It's just, like I said, saturation of Chris Pratt. It's because he's impressed so much at the moment that he's supposedly been latched onto so many different projects. So whether that's the case, I think they'll need to think about it first, and then maybe think about doing it after Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Mm-hmm. Before they actually just jump the gun and go, yes, we're going to do this, because it's just Disney being this huge, massive behemoth again. Like I said last week regarding the animation story, that I said that DreamWorks was stripping back, releasing 2 films a year rather than 3. It is that behemoth thing with Disney, because they've got so many different fingers in so many different movie pies now. They're just mixing loads of actors from different ones of their film brands that they've got into other ones that they've got. So they're just all bleeding into each other. It's a mess. The other news story I have is a news story that broke after our show on Monday last week, so it was Tuesday. And this is the story that caused a lot of annoyance on every single social network site with the nerds and the geeks. But it's the Ghostbusters reboot director Paul Feig has revealed who will be playing the 4 lead roles in his female Ghostbusters. The actresses in question are Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, Leslie Jones and Katie McKinnon, who both appear in Saturday Night Live.
I mean, this is all mostly on you because I'm not a massive fan of Ghostbusters anyway, but I definitely get where everyone's coming from, because that's honest to God, that's quite a horrible lineup.
Yeah, we knew Melissa McCarthy was going to be in there, and and we had an inkling that Kristen Wiig is, but honestly, if I'm a big, huge, massive Ghostbusters fan, but a couple of weeks ago, if you listen to the Fellow in the Nerd show, when Mark broke the story about rumours and mutterings to Saxon, because Saxon is an even bigger fan, he just went into meltdown. And you can see why. All the memes and stuff like that, which got released the day after this news was announced, it just annoyed the hell out of a lot of people. And why can't this movie just die?
You keep seeing a lot of them, in particular, still getting posted every day on Facebook.
Yeah, I just hate that. I don't mind the thought of an all-female Ghostbusters. That's fine. It's been done before in the comic books. So that's okay. That's not the annoyance that I have. I'm not even slightly annoyed the fact that one of them is Melissa McCarthy, even though she gets really on my nerves. I keep on saying there is a role out there specifically for her. It's just not this comedy that she's doing. It's the director. I can't stand him. I just cannot stand him. Every single film that he's released is bad. And so he's going to make a mockery out of a franchise, well, 2 films, that has got a lot of passion behind it. It's just going to annoy a lot of people. I hope I eat my words, and that when it does come out, it's an entertaining film. But the chances of that happening is the chances of me flying to the moon without a rocket. Box office top 10 then, eh?
Yeah, let's go into that. I think we've been on the news for a bit.
Yeah, so number 10 is Whiplash.
Which I really, really love. It is my favourite film of the year. It's fantastically performed, fantastically written. I think has issues and a little bit of pacing issues and lack of sort of female characters, but it is a phenomenal piece of, let's say, action directing that's not about action. It's about music, and it's really, really incredibly done. Especially the last 10 minutes are like nothing I've seen ever in film,
and it makes jazz well worth a listen. To be honest,
I've seen it twice now, okay, and there's been times where I've caught myself tapping the beat of one of the songs in it all the way, and I'm not into jazz, but I'm like, and I was, oh wow, it caught me.
While you were doing that, did you not feel to yourself, damn it, I've got that bit wrong. Damn it, I've got that bit wrong. I've got to get it right. I've got to get it right.
Yeah,
feels slightly tense.
Not quite my tempo. Yeah.
Yeah, you were expecting J.K. Simmons to go, stop the film, stop it, that guy over there at home has got the tapping wrong.
Look around for somebody throwing a chair at me.
Yeah, exactly. At number 9 is Birdman.
Which I really liked. I've heard it sort of different views of it, that people didn't like it as much as I did. I'm not sure you did as well. You didn't quite like it as much as I did. But the thing is, a lot of people that I have heard, the one consistent thing I've heard from everyone is that Michael Keaton is fantastic in it. I think that it's a really good thing about how stage plays work and how that's all done. And especially, I've actually heard comments from someone who works in stage plays and said it is the most accurate film to ever portray what actually goes on behind the scenes of a stage play and how it's all sort of the craziness and everything involved and the layout of things like that. So even that, someone to say that it's very like a real stage play and about the whole thing of stage and what goes on behind that, I think it's even better because of the fact that a lot of times you get a film based on something and someone comes out who's involved with that and goes, oh, it's never like that, you wouldn't have that happen, it would be different. And it's not. It is actually quite faithful to stage plays.
Yeah, the kind of thing that here's what happens behind the scenes. It's like
Yeah.
seeing a making of the film inside the film itself.
I even had someone else say to me that they thought Michael Keaton was really good, but that Edward Norton was the one that stole the film for them.
Yeah, because I quite like it when Edward Norton does these really strange, quirky characters every now and again. I think he's a very underrated actor. He's a really, really good actor, Edward Norton. And when he does these quirky kind of things, it sort of like reminds you how good of an actor he is. So I did actually really like him in the film. And number 8 is a new entry for The Gambler.
Which, honestly, is, well, boring and uninteresting. You have a main character played by Mark Wahlberg who is terribly written, not much better acted, and is at points in the film supposedly in peril, and you're supposed to go, oh, I'm worried, and you know, tension is supposed to come from the fact, oh, this character's going to get his head bashed in. But do I care? No, because he doesn't and no one else does. It's just really, it's, you know, the only way it could be any more boring is if all the characters talked in one-tone speeches and didn't actually raise their voices.
It can't be as bad as the movie at number 7 is a new entry from Mordecai.
You are right there, although admittedly I did laugh a couple of times at Mordecai. It's terrible. The pacing on it's horrible, the character is horrible, it's uninteresting, so much so that I actually not hate, but I really dislike the character. The only thing in it is good is Paul Bettany, who's the one who got the laughs, and it's like the kind of thing that was done in the 1970s British films, but American doing what they think is 1970s British film, and that's the problem. It's an outside view of British film characters and that kind of thing, and it's the Americans doing what they think a British comedy of that era should be, and doing it quite injusticely terrible, if that's even a word.
Yeah, I've not seen it. Surprisingly,
Yeah.
I think I have to see it just to see how bad it is. But I've got a friend who has an unlimited card like you do. Yeah. He walked out after 20 minutes.
See, I had to sit all the way through it because I was reviewing it, but
yeah, he walked out after 20 minutes. He went to see Ex Machina beforehand.
Good choice.
And he sent me a message saying he loved that film, and then he thought, because the fact that Mordecai was starting practically straight after it, and it's the temptation that you've got. I wish my cinema had the option of the unlimited film cards. Because when you come out of the cinema, if it's horrible or dank outside, and a film is going to start next, you think to yourself, I want to stay inside. To be honest, I'll just go and see that because it's not going to cost you anything extra. And so he did that with Mordecai, and he probably wished he was standing outside in the cold completely naked, to be honest.
It's actually more annoying when you try and do that. You try and plan a day because you've got two films you want to see. You think, oh, I'll go see that one, then I'll come out and see that one. And then they overlap by an hour.
Or in my case, you do that and your cinema has no facilities of like film cards or whatever, just gift certificates. And you can only use... Their idea of a gift certificate is a £10 gift certificate which pays for one film and £2.50 change. Which you can't even buy popcorn with that.
You need to move.
Very close to a cinema which does the unlimited thing, which there is one I know of, and it's slightly out of my way, but I can't get to it in the space of around about 40 minutes. So I might think about that.
That's nothing. I used to get a train that takes half an hour each way, and I had to get to 20 minutes to get to the train station.
I don't like the cinema though, to be honest, but that's a different thing. At number 6 is Paddington.
Yeah, fantastic, brilliant. It's hung around in the top 10 this long and taken nearly £35 million because it is that great. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it. While you're listening to us here, go now. I mean, well, listen to us and then go. No,
don't go. Listen to us, but it's a bit waste of a time now because there's actually a show at 9 o'clock at night.
Well, I'm not saying they're necessarily listening to us live.
Yeah, maybe, but still. At number 5 is the new entry for Ex Machina.
Which I liked, but not as much as you did. I do think that it's got issues, the same sort of issues down to the writing, which is Alex Garland. He is a good writer. I don't necessarily know that he's great for writing films, for sort of being able to wrap things up in them. He's got a great setup in this. First half is absolutely brilliant. The second half is where it starts to wane, I think, a little bit, and it has problems very similar sort of with the ending to how Sunshine has issues with I have issues with the Sunshine ending, but very much like Sunshine, it is a sort of forward-thinking sci-fi that's really good, enjoyable. It's expertly directed for a first time direction by him. He definitely shows that he's actually a better director than a film scriptwriter. Nothing against him writing, because he's a better writer than many people out there, but it's the thing of that I think that he's maybe bitten off a little bit more than he could chew, but done okay. It's not, I don't think, as good as it could have and should have been. So you kind of agree but disagree, don't you?
I disagree with your thoughts on his scriptwriting, because I think Alex Garland's a very smart scriptwriter. I think so. Yeah. He's a very intelligent one, because he looks at humans properly. So
he is, but sorry to interrupt you, but the issue with this is that he sets up a great setup, and then when he gets to the end, he doesn't know how to finish it.
I don't like the end, and I did say that when I reviewed the film last week, that I find a problem with the way Alex Garland ends his script. So I agree with that, because even though I absolutely adore Sunshine, and I always get the controversial reaction when I see that Sunshine is my tied number one Danny Boyle film,
It's a great film.
Along with 28 Days Later. I absolutely love Sunshine, but I found the last 2 minutes to be slightly annoying with Sunshine in this case. It's the last 20 minutes where it just could have ended at one specific point rather than just going ahead. And so I think he has a problem with that. But it just did not distract me from the film itself. I think he's a very intelligent writer, and he's shown that he's a very intelligent director as well. By just isolating 3 characters, by just putting them fully under the filmic microscope, by saying, this is what the film's about. It's about these characters rather than the stuff that is fully going around them. And so if he can manage to do that with the character pieces, just imagine if he did have a slightly bigger budget and was able to expand. It'd be much more. It'd be interesting to see what he could do with a slightly bigger budget. But I don't think he's interested in that, to be honest. Number 4 is Into the Woods,
which is, I think, very misjudged, very badly put together, and I think the casting for the majority of the film is really off-centre and unbalanced. James Corden isn't terrible, but he's not good, and it's just it doesn't engage. The music in it is not memorable at all. There's no point afterwards, having seen it, I've ever had the tunes pop into my head like you do with things like Frozen and stuff, songs that are from films. Even talking about Whiplash earlier, and the beat of jazz popping in my head. Even though I don't like jazz, I like that, and it popped in my head after seeing it. I remember bits and pieces from that. So it really shows how uninteresting and how unengaging Into the Woods is, to say that really it's unmemorable.
And number 3 is The Theory of Everything,
which is really good. I do think it's definitely got that Oscar buzz, that thing of films that do deserve to be in categories that it's nominated for. I don't necessarily think it's going to win. I think Eddie Redmayne may win, but I guess possibly that may be affected by Jupiter Ascending this week, because he's in that, and it depends as well. That if that does very poorly, it may kind of knock the Academy's opinion of him. But I think he's great in it. He's fantastic, and everything he puts into it. I think also I forget her name, who plays his wife in the film, is also nominated. Felicity Jones, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who is brilliant in it as well. But I think that an issue with it is that it is the thing of it being one-sided, because it's based on her book, which is I guess a similar thing that we'll get to when we get to later in the top 10 list and the number 1 film. But it's a thing of it, having a film that's based on a book is obviously based on the view from the book, so I think it needs to be a bit more levelled than that. But I really did like it, really did find it that was really engaging.
And number 2 is Taken 3,
which is just laughably bad at points. It's horrible. It's not as bad as the second one, but it actually tries to do something different, but just fails anyway, because it's just being a horrible 15 film that's edited and trimmed and cut down to try and be a 12, and even then, if it was a 15, it would still be bad, because it's just horribly done. It's a cash cow film. It's complete and utter cash cow.
That sums up the series, to be honest. Apart from the first film.
No, the first one.
That's why I said apart from the first film.
It's only the second and third ones which were directed by Oliver Megaton, who has been brought in as a flashy MTV-style music video director. And, I mean, as I say, the third one, I almost started to feel nauseous at points because of the fact that it was too much shaky cam.
And at number 1 is American Sniper.
Yeah, and this is a film that is really dividing audiences. I think that it's an okay film, but I think that the problems a lot of people are having with it is to do with it being very one-sided, and that's the thing with it, because it's based on a book which is written by a US Marine. So it's a one-sided book, which means it's a one-sided film. I actually think, because the people saying that it should have been leveled out more, it shouldn't have been full of so much American rhetoric, but it's from the personal point of view of the main character, who is a real person, and it's not an objective overlook of Afghanistan and the war and things that happen there. And people are saying, oh, it's about a sniper who then who was up against another sniper of the Afghanis, and it shouldn't be changed to be like that, because that's apparently what Steven Spielberg wanted to do when he was in charge. He was going to be directing it. He was actually looking at trying to add more stuff for the other sniper. I think that would have been, to be honest, I think that would have been a complete betrayal of it being a true thing, because not much is known about the other sniper. So you'd be making it up. You'd be falsely having details in there. I mean, as much as it could be accurate, it's not going to be 100% accurate on the thing, because it's a movie, it's a dramatisation. But I think it's competently done. But I think it's very minimalist, which is what Clint Eastwood is good at doing. He's a very one-take director. If he thinks he's got it, and he won't take any longer. But I think that actually it does, in a way, help it make it feel more realistic. But I think that in this case, it does make it for an average film, and one that shouldn't have been nominated in all the categories that's been nominated in the Oscars, as far as I'm concerned.
It's nominated because it has the word American in the title. That's why. It's just nominated because the Oscar press is fully American, and they can't see past their red tinted glasses. Anything patriotic, you definitely know is going to get a lot of nods, no matter how bad it is. They're always going to latch onto it. And I think that's the whole problem with American Sniper. The sniper part is showing how Clint Eastwood can handle a film. He handles a film in the sniper section with tension, with brilliant set pieces. You really do. You feel like you're on the edge of your seat with the decisions that Chris Kyle has to make. It's just when he gets to the melodrama part of the American stuff about how the tours of Iraq has affected himself, not just himself, as his family as well, it just falls down flat. It just feels like it's badly underwritten. And I think he was just more interested to show the controversial tent side rather than as well as the human side, which he should have balanced them both out properly rather than elevate one and just languish in the other.
Yeah, I think it's real surprising is that I think it's the controversy that's making this film do well and going in. I mean, it's not the first week it's come out and gone to number one. It's been out for a little while and it's gone up the charts. Because people are curious, they want to see just how controversial it is and to see if it does bother them. And that's the thing that's really odd about it, is that it's doing well despite being considered to be one of the most controversial films in the last couple of years.
It's for us on our side of the water. It's probably controversial because of maybe one or two little scenes, not because of the subject. Because to be honest, we don't care about all this American pomp and all of this American tooting their horns. We're used to it. They've done that over the last since they supposedly won the Second World War. They've done that constantly, going, look how big we are. We are this super huge massive power now. Bow down to us, and we're just looking at them going, yeah, move on. So we're used to them being idiots. No offense to anybody who's listening from America, but we're used to that. So I don't think we care about that. It's just maybe one or two little scenes that are in the film where we think they're controversial, including one which involves a drill, which is just woefully used, to be honest.
And even saying that, I think that scene should have actually been more graphic to actually be horrific. It does it, and then it shies away from it because it's like it doesn't want to be focusing on that, and I think that is a problem as well. I think it doesn't. Anything you're showing war, you need to show the full graphic brutality nature of war. Otherwise, you are basically glamorizing it, and that's an issue that I have with it. But I don't.
Have some balls with that kind of scene rather than just shy away from it. If you're going to just actually go down that rabbit hole,
yeah. So, talking of moving on, Kingsman: The Secret Service. which is the latest movie from Matthew Vaughn that he's wrote with Jane Goldman, based on the Mark Miller. Sorry, I didn't say Andrew Miller. Mark Miller comic graphic novel. It is a sort of a weird kind of action movie, which is kind of a take on the whole thing of Bond and the Bond films. You have the main character of Eggsy, played by Taron Egerton, who is a guy basically who we introduced to him at the very beginning as a very young boy. He's been given a medal for his father having been killed somewhere, and then not being able to tell him the reason why. Written on the back of the medal, he's told by the man handing it to him, played by Colin Firth, that if he calls this number, it's a sort of a one-time thing. He can call it if there's any kind of problem, anything he needs help with, there'll be someone there who will help him. Years later, indeed, Eggsy is in trouble. He ends up being arrested after stealing someone's car, taking it for a joyride, and getting sort of arrested and crashing into a police car. He calls this number, says this message that he's been given to say, and a man turns up, Colin Firth's character turns up and says, to him, I'm the man who got you out of jail, I'd like to make you an offer. Here's a clip.
Did you see the film Trading Places?
No.
How about Nikita? Pretty Woman? All right. My point is that the lack of a silver spoon has set you on a certain path, but you needn't stay on it. If you're prepared to adapt and learn, you can transform.
Oh, like in My Fair Lady?
Well, you're full of surprises. Yes, like My Fair Lady. Only in this case, I'm offering you the opportunity to become a Kingsman.
A tailor?
A Kingsman agent.
Like a spy?
Of sorts. Interested?
You think I've got anything to lose?
So then there's this whole thing of that. It then becomes a thing about training and such, and the whole thing of what the Kingsmen are. While also there's this build up to this whole thing going on with the character of Valentine, played by Samuel L. Jackson, who is working on something. And there you get the idea of, if I just mentioned the word Bond film, but more like the classic Bond films of old, of the 60s and 70s, of the little bits of humour and that mixed in with it. And the thing is that I gotta admit, I wasn't sure what to expect with this film. The trailers sort of showed it to be kind of one thing and another. Knowing it was Matthew Vaughn and also based on a Mark Miller, if you're not aware, that's the combination that came together and made Kick-Ass. And the first one, not the second one, which was terrible, but the first one, which was really good. And I have to say, I went into this not entirely sure what to expect, not sure whether or not I would think it'd be any good or not. And I've got to say, I loved it. Not really loved it, but I loved it, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. I found it extremely entertaining, very simple and easy to follow, considering that it has got more plotting than the average film, and it's got lots of humour in it. Some humour of it is a bit very questionably tasteful, but some scenes in it in particular. There's a great sequence involving is it a 10-12 overture? That's used. It is, yeah. And
yeah.
That. And I know the thing is, you and I have talked about, basically we had, our audiences seem to have different reactions. The audience I saw it with got lots of the jokes, laughing all the way through it. In particular, that got a massive laugh just because of the style and the way it's done, and it's completely against the sort of thing you have happen. And it's a very anti-hero comedy action Bond spoof film. But it's not entirely serious about itself. It doesn't take itself seriously, but it doesn't go full, Austin Powers spoof route either. So it's interesting to have a film that I think walks a very fine line, and apart from a few instances, manages to walk it pretty well. It doesn't go off the tracks too far. It occasionally does. Then it rights itself, and you can forgive it for that. Apart from possibly a bit right near the end, but it's, I think, a really, really great, fun, enjoyable, kind of a nostalgic trip down Bond lane to the old Bond. It's kind of what Bond should have been now, being the same sort of style as 60s, same sort of humour and everything, but updated to a modern setting, not what the Bonds have become, kind of like Jason Bourne, which I have no problem with that, but this is kind of, looking back at the old Bonds, this is more like them than Casino Royale is, for example.
Yeah, maybe it's probably the wrong thing to say. It's very much like Bond in my guise, because the fact that I'm not a Bond fan at all. So I never saw it as the old-fashioned Bonds, because I never felt Bond had any humour in it whatsoever.
Oh, it does.
No, when I used to watch the Bond films, it was cringing rather than humorous. It was very cringing. And in Kingsman, it never cringed me, even though there are, like you said, there are a couple of scenes in the film itself which is a bit circumspect. You think to yourself, yeah, okay, then fine. But they're a bit questionable. It never felt cringy. It did feel like it was like Bond mixed with Austin Powers, mixed with all these like spy copycat movies, but trying to make its own its own creation. I did not like the way it treated women in the film. I felt like the one woman, there was two female characters who were part of the Kingsman program, but the way they treat both the female characters, specifically one, she's gone practically straight away, and then the other one, it's just a trophy. We'll use her for the instances in the film itself, and by the time that character is fully gone down the path, it's just yes, we'll use her for this plot point, and at the end she'll have one supposedly witty line, and that's it. I wasn't sort of like annoyed at the way it ended, the last frame of the film itself, where a lot of people are going, yeah, that's just pushing it too far. Because you can look at it, the fact that that's the way Eggsy's character is, but you can also look at the fact that during the course of the film, Eggsy's character is supposed to build up confidence and get away from that sort of like insanity, the way his character was, like the childishness of his character. He was becoming much more aware that he needed to be more of a man rather than a child, and to actually regress him back to that stage, the childlike stage, was a bit annoying. That's the part I was annoyed at rather than what he said. I also felt like the film, it sagged in the middle a little bit. It just overstayed its welcome a bit too much at times. Like it was just plodding along a little bit. There's some fantastic set pieces, specifically in the church. But again, I felt like that church set piece went on a little bit too long, because I just felt like it was Vaughn going, this is violent, this is going to be stupidly violent, let's go as far as we can go. But I think he went too far. Not in the violence itself, because it becomes so humorous that I just started to become really bored of it, to be honest. I was just going, I get it. What you're doing here is supposed to make people go, God, that is really brutal. And I was just going, yes, I'm bored now. Stop. I love the fact that he's sort of like akin for that bit near to the end of the film, where instead of you seeing lots of gore, you just saw fireworks. And so I loved that. I loved the fact that he just went, we've had that majorly hyper-violent scene, let's just change things up a little bit. Instead of it being loads of gore, let's just have lots of fireworks. And I just loved the way that sort of like played out. But it's just, there are elements of the film which felt overly rushed, like it didn't belong in the movie, like he just needed it as plot points.
I can see that, but the thing is, I knew how long it was, and I actually felt that it was longer than it actually was, but which is a sign that normally things feel too long, but I didn't mind, is the odd thing. I knew it was longer, because when I saw it, I knew I had to actually get a train back home afterwards, because I saw it in a quite late showing in the evening, and was aware that if I didn't make it, I would be stuck overnight waiting for the first train in the morning. But that's the thing with it, I found, this is feeling a bit long, but I don't mind, because I'm enjoying it.
No, I just felt like it overstayed its welcome too much, to be honest. But I've got a friend who, the one who I was telling you about, who went to see Mordecai, and he walked out of Mordecai. He really loved Kingsman. And so he's just about as picky as me, to be honest.
Wow. Yeah,
actually, I'm worse than him, but that's no surprise there, is it?
Okay, next.
Big Hero 6. It's the latest film from Disney, or as they're going to plaster across the poster, from the studio that bought us Frozen and Wreck-It Ralph. So when the next film comes out, Inside Out, it's from the studio that brought us Big Hero 6, Wreck-It Ralph and Frozen. So it's just, you're going to get these plastered across the posters from now on. But Big Hero 6 is directed by Don Hall and Chris Williams, and it centres around the character of Hero, which is voiced by Ryan Potter. And at the start of the film, he's sort of like a rebel kind of character. He's more interested in robot fighting, and robot fighting is illegal. But he points out that if you bet on robot fighting, that's the illegal part. The robot fighting part isn't. And so his brother's trying to push him onto the correct path, onto a good path. Use his knowledge for pushing him more forward. So he takes him to the university where he's got a part in there, and he actually introduces him to the head of the university, saying that, why don't you come up with an invention to try and get into this one? So he thinks, okay then, it's a good idea, I'll do that. And he manages to get a place into the university, and he discovers that what his brother was working on was a character called Baymax, which is this huge sort of like miniature version of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters. And it's a health robot. It's a health robot that any time when you've had something wrong with you, you've got a cut or whatever, he'll come out and try to fix it for you. And then once you're finished with it, you just tell him that you're happy with the thing that you've received from him. And so his brother's actually created this. He ends up creating these little nanobots which are able to come together, and it impresses everybody at the university. However, an incident happens which causes a sad event, and it pushes Hero back into his shell again until Baymax pops out, and also he discovers one of these little nanobots that he's working on, and he seeks out all the rest of them, and he finds out that something could have happened which caused a horrible incident, and that he needs the help not only from Baymax but also from his brother's friends. Here's a clip which shows you some of the humour of it, and while you're listening to this, if you don't smirk, there is something seriously wrong, because this clip, I've seen the film twice, and this bit of the film made me giggle like a little schoolgirl.
My aunt asks, we were at school all day. Got it.
We jumped out a window.
No, but quiet.
Shh, we jumped out a window.
You can't say things like that around Aunt Cass. Shh.
Yeah? You home, sweetie?
That's right.
I thought I heard you. Hi.
Hey, Aunt Cass.
Oh, look at my little college man. I can't wait to hear all about it. Oh, and wings are almost ready.
Whee!
You be quiet.
Yeah, wings. Wee. All right, get ready to have your face melted. We are gonna feel these things tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Okay, sit down, tell me everything.
So yeah, you've got Baymax there, and he sounds like he's drunk, but he's lost a lot of power, and it's just, we jumped out of a window! But it culminates in just, yeah, it just made, I was dead with it. He picks up a cat and just goes, hairy baby! And just starts stroking it. And that's the best thing about Big Hero 6. It's Baymax. Disney really know how to create the ultimate character which you latch on. In Frozen, it was Olaf. In Wreck-It Ralph, it was obviously Ralph himself. And in this case, it's Baymax. Baymax adds all the humour to it. Also, Disney is showing their sort of like the nurturing side. They have a tendency of adding sort of really down-to-earth elements into their films. I know it was Pixar who did it, but if you look at Up, in the first 10 minutes, it makes a lot of people cry. And so they have the serious elements, and also that's latched into the film itself. The problem I found with Big Hero 6 is the way the film culminates. In the last 20 minutes of it, it's got such a Marvel influence on it that it didn't feel like a Disney film anymore. It felt like a Marvel film. It felt like a superhero movie. It felt like it was betraying what the original part of the film was like. It took 5 ordinary characters, which was Hero's brother's friends, and gave them superpowers in a way of these suits that Hero creates for them to try and help him to stop this ultimate evil, this guy who's wearing this kabuki mask. I just think like it didn't need that. It just felt a bit... It was just there to make the film slightly longer, to make a plot point that would work properly, and I just felt like it was overly influenced by Marvel. We have the Marvel films and the superhero side. Disney concentrate on some other elements. Because if you look at Frozen, it was an old-fashioned fairy tale. If you look at Wreck-It Ralph, it was them going, this is video games, let's do something for the geeks. This could have been something slightly different. Instead of following suit with another superhero movie like Guardians of the Galaxy or Avengers Assemble, it didn't need that. That said, though, Big Hero 6 is still a really entertaining film with some fantastic animation, especially Hero's hometown of San Francisco. It's an amalgamation of both Tokyo and San Francisco of what they would be like in the future, and it's beautifully realised. There is a gorgeous fantasy sequence as well, which is just vibrant and full of colour. When you get there, you just want it as a screensaver. It just pops with vibrancy. But it just had the problem for me with the last 20 minutes. I wasn't enamoured with the film, as a lot of people is.
So, I mean, given that it's by the same people who did Wreck-It Ralph, which I really like, and Frozen, which I liked, but not as much. I mean, where would you have sort of placed it in that three of them? You know, where would you place it in between those, or above them, or below them, or?
I think there's more weakness in Big Hero 6 than there is with Wreck-It Ralph and Frozen. Because I think Frozen has got that. It was aimed at the girls. It was aimed at the. I know there's a lot of males out there who loved Frozen, but it was aimed specifically at the girls. So it did that. Sorry. Dying. Brilliant radio.
You need Baymax to come out and help you.
Yeah, Wreck-It Ralph was aimed at the boys. It's a video game, so it's a very boy thing. Big Hero 6, I think it was trying to go down both alleyways, and it just didn't feel like that. It failed on that front. So it's still a really good film, but it's third out of the three. And I'm going to mute my mic while you review the next film so I can actually cough more.
Okay, I haven't seen it yet, but I do want to see it, and I just didn't have a chance. Even despite it having loads of preview screenings, I just didn't get a chance to see it. The timings didn't work out. Moving on, though, Inherent Vice, which is Paul Thomas Anderson's latest movie. It is based on a novel by Thomas Pynchon of the same name. It's basically a sort of crime drama that features a main character of Doc, who's a private eye played by Joaquin Phoenix, set in the 1970s Los Angeles. He is kind of a little bit of sort of drug dealer, drug taker, hippie private eye, who is sort of brought into this story by an ex-girlfriend of his turning up, played by Catherine Waterstone. She tells him that there's a guy who she's been seeing who's married, and things are sort of going to kick off. There's going to be potential kidnapping and things involved. Ultimately, she ends up disappearing. This isn't late in the film, it's quite early, and he starts to then investigate, trying to figure out what's going on and what sort of things are afoot with this. Along the way, he meets all these sort of characters, as you normally get with sort of Paul Thomas Anderson films. You get a lot of these sort of weird, interesting characters. You have things like Benicio del Toro plays a lawyer of his, who also kind of informs for him and stuff, and sort of is a friend of his who he can sort of go to for information, such as in this clip, which we're going to play just now.
Word I'm hearing is that Mickey Wolfman might not be as missing as we think. Like gone, but not gone. Man, you're gonna love this. The rumor is that the Department of Justice is trying to...
No. There you go.
Cute. The word I'm hearing is that the Department of Justice is trying to broker a Vegas deal for him. Doesn't compute. Say again. Vegas Wolfman. FBI stuff. They need somebody else on the strip who's not Italian. You dig? Like Howard Hughes when he bought the Desert Inn. Howard Hughes was Italian.
So, here's the thing with Inherent Vice. It is basically... Now, to say this is kind of cruel but true, but in a weird way. It's a kind of a mess of a film. It's 2.5 hours long. It has all these scenes where the characters meet up and things happen and they talk. Not a lot of things happen. It's just more dialogue and things. And great direction of these scenes. Each sort of done technically really well and solidly. And the performance in them is brilliant. Joaquin Phoenix is great throughout it. Josh Brolin, who plays a detective that he goes to and ends up sort of getting involved in because Doc is framed for a murder early on and ends up being arrested and then having to sort of try and figure out things while not sort of getting too sort of close with this cop who's a bit, you know, can I trust him, can't I trust him, what do I do about him? And it's this weird thing of that it doesn't seem to care about where the plot is going. It meanders and wanders, and by the end of the 2.5 hours, I honestly got to a point where I was starting to get genuinely just frustrated and annoyed, because I felt like I was being thrown red herring after red herring of where the film was going, so much so that I genuinely got to the end and finished, and I was just befuddled and annoyed. And the thing is that Paul Thomas Anderson is a great director. He done great films. I definitely don't think this is amongst his great films. I don't think it's a worst film that's ever been made, but I think it's among the worst films that Paul Thomas Anderson has made, because of the fact that I just found it so annoying, and so the character of Doc just so annoying as well, and the way that he just is. I'm a fairly laid back person. My girlfriend thinks I'm too laid back. My girlfriend watching this would probably end up throwing something at the screen in frustration. It's a film that it's not about patience, but if you're not in the patient mindset to watch it, you will end up getting really frustrated. And I wouldn't be surprised if people walk out, because no one did it when I saw it, but I had a feeling that there were a few people that got close. And I just remember thinking back to things. I'm thinking back to like Paul Thomas Anderson's last film, or the one with Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman. I can't think of the name. I'm terrible at thinking the name.
Yeah, I know which one you mean. That's
The Master.
Yeah, that's it.
With The Master. Now, The Master, I really didn't like, and I really didn't like it. But it's a better film than this, I felt. It's a film. Both of them have problems of running times being far too long. This one, I honestly felt it should have been a good 45 minutes throughout it. Not a big chunk, just lots of bits and pieces here that it just felt as if it was intentionally trying to annoy me and stretch things out just to annoy me, so that I would walk out and go, I'm annoyed. And I would have used stronger language than that if I'd said it. And the weird thing is, you know it's trying to do it. It's not that you're watching it and you're going, this is badly done. You're going, this is well done. And it's doing it to annoy me. And that's the thing that I just don't get. I didn't get it. I don't know if it's just me, because I know I'm hearing lots of people saying they really, really love it, and really, I think it's actually, honestly, I've found it just so, it tried my patience too much. Maybe a little bit less. If it had been 2 hours and done that, I'd have been fine. 2.5 hours, no, sorry, no.
Do you think it's Paul Thomas Anderson just over self-indulgent in himself? Because we know how much of he is a quirky director. He never directs very straightforward films. He never directs a film with any coherence. And I know that this is based on a book where it is one of those horrible, to use the term, unfilmable books. Because there are books which are really difficult. Yet directors have been able to manage to handle books. Yeah. Look at Cloud Atlas, for example. Cloud Atlas is supposed to be a nightmare of a book to handle. Even though the film itself was 3 hours, and even though I did find there was problems here and there with it, I think the Wachowskis handled it with gusto really well. You look at World War Z as well. The film itself, there are problems with it, but because of the way the book itself is structured, they still handled that film pretty well. Do you think it's because it might be down to an unfilmable book, or it's just Paul Thomas Anderson just self-indulging in himself?
I think that it may be a mix of the two. I mean, I don't know the book. It's definitely got these moments where honestly, the weird thing is, at times I was watching it, and I know someone who, if I said this to them, I would get my ear talked off about how I was wrong. But there was points in this when I was thinking, I don't know if this is directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, or if it's got, for 5 minutes Quentin Tarantino stepped in. It's got scenes that it's not. It doesn't go into the whole dialogue. I mean, it doesn't delve into the violence or the language or the graphicness of features, things that happened, or the opulence that Quentin Tarantino sort of lets run away with his films. It doesn't do that. But there's scenes in it where they're just characters sitting there talking in the dialogue, and sometimes the dialogue is just quite almost nonsensical at parts. And it almost felt like Quentin Tarantino kind of, it's like PTA going like, Quentin, I got to go to the toilet for a minute. Can you take over? And that sort of thing. And it just felt so off for Paul Thomas Anderson. Because the thing is, I said, I like the performance in this. There's no bad performances in this. There's even Eric Roberts in it for a while, who's good in it. There's Owen Wilson playing a serious but weird role, which is good. And the thing is, though, that it doesn't have the tension to it that like I said, The Master. I didn't like The Master. Really didn't like the film, but I love the scenes between Philip Seymour Hoffman and Joaquin Phoenix. The scenes with the two of them are fantastic. They're so brilliantly done. They're solidly directed. There's no fat to be trimmed there. This film just was in very much need of trimming and also tightening up, and it doesn't have it. As much as I like a long film, I don't like one that's this boring and tests my patience.
We need to move on now because we've been on it for way too long.
We
have two more films to review.
It's kind of befuddled me how much that it annoyed me, but it really did.
Yeah, we have two more films to review before we get into the DVD section. We're already, the Skype call's already lasted over an hour, so I'm guessing the show is very close for an hour anyway. But I'll quickly get through Son of a Gun. It's directed by Julius Avery. It's written and directed by Julius Avery, a directorial debut as well. It stars Brendan Thwaites, who plays GR, and he's learning the harsh realities of all the stuff that he's actually pulled out on the streets, and so he's sentenced to prison for about 6 months. You don't find out what he's actually done to push the authorities over the edge, but he's sent to this prison for 6 months. There is a scene which involves him speaking to Ewan McGregor, which involves a chess game, so him trying to lay the foundations of what he's like at the prison. We've got a clip for it there, but I'll just skip over the clip, to be honest, because it has got no plot. It's with the story itself. In prison himself, he does actually become friends with Ewan McGregor's character, who plays Brendan, who's this very notorious... I wouldn't even say killer. He does kill a lot of people, but he's a very notorious crime person when it comes to the stuff that he's actually done over the period of 30, 40 years. There's even a book written about the actions that he's managed to do. And so in prison, he decides to speak to GR and say that, I've got something for you to do when you get out of prison. If you do this, I'll be in your debt. I'll help you out with the problems that you're having in prison as well, but you've got to stick by it. And so he follows that along with him. He follows Ewan McGregor's character when he gets out of prison. It involves a bullion heist where they've got to try and track down this gold bullion and capture it, to be honest. But then they get shafted. And so they've got to go on the run and try and get this bullion back. And see, the problem with Son of a Gun is it's multiple different films trying to be one movie. And it would have worked in each one of the multiple different films. And so if there were short stories, the first 15 minutes set in a prison, that works. There's a bit of tension in it, there's decent dialogue between the characters, there's a few little brutal scenes, and so it felt very much like Starred Up, the Jack O'Connell film. And then after that, it goes into sort of like a drama kind of movie where they're out of prison, they've got to try and make a deal with one of these high-up bosses to try and find out where this gold bullion is. There's a girl involved, which is played by Alicia Vikander, the third film in a row in 3 weeks that she's been in. Testament of Youth she was in. She was also in an Ex Machina. And so there's a love thing that happened in there, and so that's the drama part. And then you've got the heist part where they get the gold bullion, and it could be that GR's fallen in love with them, with Alicia Vikander's character. And then you've got another bit where they go on the run and try to do one up on this boss. And so it just feels a very muddled film. It never fully managed to piece together each one of those movie puzzle pieces at all and make one coherent movie. It's 4 or 5 ones. It's very much like a portmanteau VHS kind of film, the VHS series where it's 4 different movies melded into one because you've got a running theme running throughout it. It feels more like that. And so as 20-minute snapshot, it works. As a film, it doesn't.
Okay, last cinema release this week is a small film called Trash. It is a a Brazilian film by Stephen Daldry, is actually nominated for a BAFTA. It was nominated for a BAFTA for Best Film Not in English Language, and it follows these three kids played by Celton Mello, Andre Ramiro, and Rickson Tevez, who are three sort of 10-12-year-old boys who live on basically a sort of a slum village that lives next to basically on a rubbish tip, where all the rubbish sort of daily is brought in by trucks and dumped in. People then, including them, work on this rubbish tip, picking out bits of plastic and things that can be recycled and for money and such, and that's their job and how they make their living. The three of them, though, one of them finds a wallet in the rubbish that's there. It's got some bits and pieces in it that are all sort of mysterious, odd things, including things like a key for a locker and some things like that. Start sort of the three of them looking into what's going on because of the fact the police turn up looking for something and looking for a wallet, realizing that it's the three go on the run, sort of trying to figure out what's going on and sort of investigating the reasons what's in this, why the police want this wallet. It is a thing that's odd about it is a Brazilian film. It's spoken in Brazilian mostly, although there are some scenes that are in English or a mix of the two, because it does have Martin Sheen and Rooney Mara in it. They're two sort of people. Martin Sheen plays a father who's on sort of the site as the kind of the local priest. Rooney Mara's character is a woman there who's kind of just there to help out people, and she knows the father and sort of works with him to help kids and people that are in need, and the children at one point go to her to get her help. Here's a clip.
We need you. We need favor.
Polícia vai matar ele.
Rafael is danger. Is Oliver.
Help, boys.
Rafael needs a liar.
He needs a liar?
É.
I don't understand.
Não, advogada. Mostra pra ela.
Justiça.
A lawyer. He needs a lawyer.
A lawyer.
Yes.
Justiça.
My grandfather is very liar.
Your grandfather's a lawyer.
Yeah, he can help Rafael.
Really? Onde, su avô?
My grandfather is prisoner.
Yeah, prisão.
Por que precisa de mim?
You are an American. You white.
Two white. Two black. You white. White.
I'm look poor.
My brother.
These are your brothers?
Yes. You, my mother.
So then she helps these boys get to the prison where they see one of their grandfathers and get some advice from him and start investigating things. And the thing is that it's a film that I was not sure what to expect from it. I went to see it purely because of the fact that I was curious, because I do like Rooney Mara and I like Martin Sheen. And the thing I've got to say is I was genuinely not prepared for what it was. It actually blew me away. It was really engrossing, really well done. It's nice to see a foreign film that can really be that captivating and has a good story, and it's got a good plot and quite a lot of plotting and things that are going on, and the mystery of things. And at times I'm aware of when I was younger, I don't remember them, but I know that I remember reading books, things like things like you had like the Mysterious Five, those kind of things. I can't remember what they're called exactly. They're not Fantastic Five, not Mysterious Five. Those kind of books, yeah.
Yeah, the Enid Blyton stuff.
Yes, that kind of stuff. The things that the kids
Five.
going off and investigating things and that kind of thing. And I was just odd that this film made me think like that. There's things going on there, but there's also things in it. There's little kind of action scenes and chase sequences and stuff, and things that are quite seriously done. And it is a. I'm not sure actually if it's a 12 or 15. I think it's a 12.
15.
It's a 15. I can remember.
Yes.
But. The thing is about it, there's bits in it that were kind of almost like something out of a Bourne film recently, with jumping over buildings in the slums and stuff, and I was really impressed. I really liked it. It was much better and not what I was expecting, and I honestly thought it was really great stuff.
Is it very much like Slumdog Millionaire?
Yeah, but not Slumdog Millionaire is more of the whole the drama of it and all. This is more of a thriller, and action as well, because you have scenes where the kids are being chased by the police, and it's quite intense at some parts as well. And not just drama, but the acting's good. The kids are good in it. You have the whole thing of Rooney Mara and Martin Sheen there, but more as kind of a way into it. Not so much they're not important. They pop up at certain parts. Rooney Mara's character actually disappears for a whole part of it because something happens, but it's not in a. It's handled in a well way. It's not kind of like, oh, here's English speaking parts. You're in the film now. We're going to take them away. It's more, here's English speaking parts. You're in the film. This is going to happen, and you're stuck with it. You're engrossed, and it's nicely done. Very nicely done.
Oh well.
So that's it for this week's cinema section. Stick around, we're back in just a moment with this week's DVD and Blu Ray section.
From page to screen. So they have 9 times out of 10 they have to send it back to you unopened or just throw it in the garbage can.
Things don't always look exactly as we envision our life to look. But sometimes it works out and turns out even better.
Gregor Fisher, his bacon number is 2 because he was appeared with January Jones in Love Actually, and January Jones and Kevin Bacon appeared in X-Men First Class together.
I've got to say, the very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas now, that just makes me want to rush out.
It's about the acting, about the writing. That's really what theatre is for me.
Probably had more names than Prince or whatever. Never mind, there's a joke for the oldies. It'd be like, who's Prince? Who's he? I'd just like to see Mr. Freeze hiring his bad guys going, right, okay, so you're a psycho, right, can you ice skate? Head over to iTunes, Spreaker and Stitcher and put in the search box From Page to Screen.
Welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show. We're into the home release section where we're looking at these films.
Yes, we have the latest from David Fincher, a personal favourite of mine. We'll see what Stuart thinks of it with Gone Girl. We have Maps to the Stars, a very weird drama film about Hollywood and the ins and outs of that. We have a horror film in Jezebel. We start sort of getting into more and more horror with later on, but before that we go back into some weird sort of drama things with If I Stay. And then we have Roadkill, also known as Road Train, and finish off with Life After Beth.
And on top of that, we have our TV Movie of the Week and Movie of the Week this week, because last week I realised after I did the show I didn't ask you what your Movie of the Week was.
Did we not?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, I finished the show. When we finished it, when we worked at what we were going to review this week, I realised, yep, I forgot to ask what is Movie of the Week. So this week I will make sure I do that, and we also will play you out with a clip of a film that will be coming out next week. But let's kick things off as we normally do with the Blu-ray and DVD Top 10.
Yep, starting at number 10 with Taken 2. This will be good.
Snore.
Yeah.
Next.
That's it, yeah. Number 9, Before I Go to Sleep.
Yeah, it's kind of film that you should not listen to the title because you should not watch this before you go to sleep. Because it is a very strange movie that you will not sleep after watching it. It's very well acted. It's a 3-pronged film. I really like these movies when they get them right, where it centres around just 3 specific actors and the roles that they play. And this is a film where it does get it right. It was nice to see also Nicole Kidman sort of like back on form after she did the horrendous movie that is Grace of Monaco, because she plays a character who suffers from this specific kind of amnesia where she forgets the previous 24 hours, and so she's reliving, ironically, because today is National Groundhog Day. She is reliving Groundhog Day over and over again.
Yeah, the other thing worth mentioning, it's only an hour and a half long, so it's not even a long film. Doesn't outlive its welcome, outstay its welcome even.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 8 is the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Which you loved this much more than I did. So I love the style, I like the music, and the slapstick humour is fine. I just didn't love it as much as you. It's entertaining.
No, I'm glad it got nominated for Best Film, but I don't think it'll win in competition.
It's got no chance.
No. Number 7 is The Wolf of Wall Street.
You've already heard our thoughts multiple times over. It's getting more boring than Frozen, which finally is not in the top 10 anymore.
But Frozen 2 is. Number 6 is Charlotte's 3-minute belly blitz, which will just glitz over.
Probably took her half that time to think up the name of this thing and the exercises in it.
Number 5 is Lucy.
It's an entertaining film. It's Luc Besson sort of like going back to what he can do best. He can do stupid brain-dead action films in his sleep, to be honest. And over the last, I would say, good 10 years, he's just been producing movies, and badly doing it. In this case, he's directing it and going, you know, I'm just going to make a movie that's fun and entertaining, and Scarlett Johansson is going to be entertaining to watch. I just wish he'd just reeled back the last 10-15 minutes a little bit more.
Number 4 is A Walk Among the Tombstones,
which is boring. Really boring movie. No, it is. Liam Neeson sort of like going, yeah, I can do more films other than Taken. Yeah, you can't. You're trying to do a movie like 8mm. So you're trying to be like Nicolas Cage, an actor who you should not try to be like. It is really... It tries to be dark and brooding, and it just becomes...
First of our 3 top new entries at number 3 with What We Did on Our Holiday.
It has an entertaining half. The film itself, it's got decent drama to it, and it's got decent comedy moments to it. It's very much like the TV program that's loosely based on. But it just, once the incident happens, that's when it just becomes more fantastical, and it loses its weir a lot.
The Box Trolls is new at number 2.
Loved it. What do you expect? It's a movie that's full of grime and gooiness and the kind of like grotesque things that young boys love and young girls find disgusting, but then it has elements that young girls love, and it's very much like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang with the lead bad guy in it being very much like the child catcher, and it's beautifully animated with the stop motion animation in it. I love Box Trolls.
And The Equalizer is new entry at number 1.
Has a good 10-15 minutes and completely spoils it after that. It becomes such a pastiche of the Taken kind of movies that it just becomes laughable.
I completely agree with that. I hated
it. Absolutely hated it. Yeah, I got that. First film up for review, Gone Girl. It's the movie that should not be like a lot of plot points given away because it has so many spoilers in the film, so we just stick with the first half of the movie because that's where it's quite spoiler free. And so it's directed by David Fincher, and it centres around Ben Affleck's character who plays Nick Dunn and his wife Rosamund Pike, and we'll play you straight away with the clip on how they meet.
Well, Amy, who are you?
A, I'm an award-winning scrimshander. B, I'm a moderately influential warlord. C, I write personality quizzes for magazines.
Okay. Well, your hands are far too delicate for real scrimshaw work. And I happen to be a charter subscriber to Middling Warlord Weekly, so I recognize you. I'm gonna go with C.
And you? Who are you?
I'm the guy to save you from all this awesomeness.
And so the basic premise of the first part of the film itself is Ben Affleck. He plays a writer who's sort of like lost his way a little bit. He blames the recession, he blames money problems of him losing his job. He's speaking with his sister one day inside of a bar that she owns on the 5th anniversary of his marriage to Rosamund Pike's character. Unfortunately, she ends up going missing, and a huge, massive thing starts where he gets blamed for his wife gone missing. That's the first part of it. The second part of it, you see it from the standpoint of Rosamund Pike's character, and that's when the spoilers lie, and that's where I'm just going to stop it, to be honest, because it is one of those David Fincher films where it needs to be watched. It's just stupid, I think, trying to fully describe a Fincher film, because Fincher is one of these directors where his movies need to be seen rather than you being told about the plot points of it. If you look at Zodiac, if you look at Seven, they are movies that need to be watched because they're very important on that point. And that's the same with Gone Girl. In the first half of the film, you have got him setting up stories, setting up elements. And in the second half of the film, you've got it where it twists around and changes the viewpoint of the first bit of the movie. And so it feels like two different films. It feels like David Fincher showing both sides of the way he can direct a film. And he's a genius at doing that. There are faults with the film, but you sort of like forgive those faults. I think it's too long. Pardon. But you sort of like forgive that because you let David Fincher just run wild. Because like I've said, I love it when he does these kind of movies because he's a very important director. He always has something interesting to say. Acting wise, he gets the best out of the actors as well. Ben Affleck is sort of like very timid, but you think there's something seriously wrong with him. Rosamund Pike is fantastic in the film. There's even bits here from Neil Patrick Harris and Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry's a very annoying actor, but he's completely reeled back in this one, who plays a police officer who's sort of like investigating what's going on. And he's really reeled back, and again, under the guise of a director who's able to do that with actors. He created a character which is very good to watch. You've also got, I think steals the show at times is Carrie Coon, who plays Ben Affleck's sister in the film. I think she does brilliantly in the film. Her character is very interesting, and that's why you get the humour as well, very witticistic with her remarks. And so it's an entertaining film. It has a problem with length. It has a problem here and there with bits of the story and trying to tie it together, and the ending is a very miss, to be honest, very much like The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I think that went overrun by a good 20 minutes. This has that same problem, but you slightly forgiven because what he's created beforehand is such an enthralling film.
I agree largely with that. I think, talking about Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, because I love David Fincher's works, he's one of my favourite directors, but I think I like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo better than this, but only just. But because of the problem that I have with this, is I don't have a problem with the ending. I admit, I think that the ending on this is not as drawn out as Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, but I still like that better than this. But the thing that I have an issue with this is that I don't know the book, but I do know from my other half who's read the book and loved this film. She absolutely loved the adaptation of it. But I know that it's taken very literally in the way that the story is told and developed and how you learn things, and because there's things you learn, it's not in chronological order. You learn things in flashbacks, you learn things that happened after the fact, and I have an issue with that. There are things you learn in the flashbacks and things you learn in stuff like that I think are revealed too early in the film, especially for it being 2.5 hours long. There are things that are learned in the first hour that I think should not have been learned until at least sort of halfway through the film. But aside from that, I agree with pretty much everything else you said about it. I love the film. I think it's brilliant, and I really enjoyed it. And Ben Affleck, I don't care what anyone says. Before this, I thought he's a great actor of things like Argo. If you haven't seen it, see that. But he's a great actor, and this is just another one that proves how good an actor he is.
Yeah. Now, a film which I'm interested to hear what you think of it.
Maps to the Stars.
Yes.
Yeah, which is David Cronenberg, so this is going to be weird straight away. It's based on as a screenplay by Bruce Wagner. It is basically a film about Hollywood and the ins and outs of it and the problems with it, shall we say. Centers around several characters. You could kind of say sort of the main one of it is played by Mia Wasikowska, who's a woman who turns up in Los Angeles. She ends up getting herself a job as the assistant to an actress played by Julianne Moore, who has some issues and some problems and sees hallucinations of her long dead mother, played by Sarah Gaden. Also, there is this story that you've got that connected to Mia Wasikowska's character, which to say how would be spoiling things, because I won't, but is a young actor, a boy who is a young actor who's kind of this kind of ruined childhood actor, young kind of Justin Bieber, Macaulay Culkin sort of thing, and isn't quite necessarily adjusted to society as a result of being spoiled and being ruined, and by having his childhood now turned into a bigger celebrity and all that sort of thing happening. And it's all about the sort of thing of how these characters are connected, how they're all damaged, and how the whole thing of them all have been damaged in parts, in ways, about Hollywood and about things in Hollywood. I don't want to say more than that, because to say any more than that would spoil things, and given how weird David Cronenberg is as well, it's to say too much would make it make sense, and that I don't want to do, because it doesn't make sense, if that makes sense. I know that's really very, very non sequitur, but that's kind of what it is with the film. In there as well, in the mix, playing one of the father of Mia Wasikowska's character is John Cusack, who doesn't want her to be around, who sent her away, didn't want her to come back, and now she's come back. He's not particularly happy. Here's the clip.
My books. You read any of them?
Yes.
Secrets Kill. A classic.
How did you find me?
Please, No film noir questions.
Did Benji?
Did Benji tell me you were here? How would he know that? Did you go see Benji?
No.
Bad idea, going to see Benji. Reckless. The question remains, why are you in L.A.?
I'm in recovery. I wanted to make amends.
No one escapes the long arm of 12-step.
Why didn't you ever come see me?
That's a victim question. That's an I never promised you a rose garden question. You know why. I don't believe in rewarding homicidal behavior.
So, here's the thing with Maps to Stars. It's a mess. It's another one that's like Inherent Vice in the cinema section. Paul Thomas Anderson, basically, it's a mess because it's meant to be a mess. And the thing I have with it that's a problem for me is the fact of that, for me, it's too vague. It's not precise enough with any one of the characters. It actually, for me, has too many characters. I think there should have been some taken out. I think there should have been more focus on some. I think there should have been more focus on one in particular to make them a main sort of character in it, because none of them really is the main one, and that's what I struggle with, because I just found it to be very... I mean, as we were talking just now during the clip, it's a very muddled film, but it's intentionally a muddled film. It's not a muddled film because it's been poorly directed and poorly put together. David Cronenberg is skilled at pulling the wool over people's eyes and making that kind of a film, and this is no different than... It's definitely him doing what he knows does. It's better than Cosmopolis, which we really did not like, but largely because of the fact of that it has got a cast which all do really good acting and performance in it. Julianne Moore is fantastic in the film. She is kind of scene stealing in her scenes, especially the scenes where she's with Mia Wasikowska, and Mia Wasikowska is so completely reserved and quiet and mousy in the scenes that she's so timid, and Julianne Moore in particular, one scene completely chastises her over something that happens to do with her couch, and it's very kind of the whole subject and that and all, it's very kind of, oh yeah, it's the kind of thing that a lot of directors would shy away from doing, and Cronenberg doesn't. He gets off on doing that kind of thing. So if you like Cronenberg stuff, you probably are going to like it. I'm not a massive fan of his, I have to admit, and I found this just confusing and didn't actually give me one, but I felt like I was going to end up with a headache.
Yeah, I don't agree with you, to be honest. I quite liked it. I thought Julianne Moore was the lead focal point of the film itself, and Mia Wasikowska. The film itself was a microscope on Julianne Moore's destructive nature. It was the microscope on Hollywood's destructive nature, how it can latch on to an actor or an actress and completely destroy them. If you look at Evan Bird, who plays Benji in the film itself, he is a very brat-like person. He's very much... You can go as far back as the 1920s of cinema and look at the actors and actresses in the 1920s, 1910s, 1920s, and they still behaved rottenly on set. They always demanded the highest quality food, or the highest quality food, or the clothes, or jewels, and all of that stuff. And if you look at Hollywood today, it infects them so badly that that's what they like, that's what actors are like, and that's what this film was like. It was... David Cronenberg, he is one of these directors who does not give a fudge about anybody. He always constantly has a middle finger stuck up to Hollywood, and he shows them...
That's a great description of him, actually.
He always shows Hollywood how much of an infectious disease it can be, and that's what each one of the characters is like. They're very deplorable, they're very destructive, but he gives each one of the characters meaning and proper meaning to it, going, yeah, it's not just down to the age group, it's not just down to the gender. Anybody in Hollywood, if you're supposedly big, if you think you're big, you are this deplorable person. You're never going to be down to earth no matter how much you say you are, because if you're given some fries that are 99 pence, you'll demand the fries that cost £10 rather than that, because you can get it. And so I found it interesting on that standpoint of view. I thought Julianne Moore was fantastic in the movie, along with Mia Wasikowska. And Evan Bird, because you're supposed to really hate his character, I thought he handled his character really well. There are problems here and there, I think specifically with Robert Pattinson's character, because he's just pointless. And I agree with you, at times there is some other ones which could have been pushed out of there and concentrate a lot more on Julianne Moore's and Mia Wasikowska's relationship together, because I think she's sort of like infecting her. She's changing her, because she's looking up, Mia Wasikowska's character is looking up at Julianne Moore's one going, this is what I want to be. But you don't want to be like that.
I just found that a lot of the time when I'm watching it, I was remembering, I think it's Robert Altman's The Player, and thinking back to that with Tim Robbins. If you've not seen that, you should see it. But I just remember thinking, that was more about the ills of Hollywood than that. And that's from a film from the 90s, back when Hollywood, as much as it is still kind of the same place now, it's very much changed in 20 years. 30 years even, coming up. And I just found that there were points in this where I was going, you're doing similar kind of thing, but you're not getting the same result, for me at least. So that's why I just found it not as entertaining and didn't get into it, and found it a very just an off-putting film. Not in the way that I think it wants to be, but an off-putting in that I didn't want to watch it. Not an off-putting that I didn't want to have anything to do with Hollywood. An off-putting film that I just didn't want to watch it.
And it's much more better than Cosmopolis, because that was a mess.
Oh yeah, well, Cosmopolis. The only thing about Cosmopolis to say is that actually it is a sign that Robert Pattinson can act, but still, given bad dialogue, is terrible.
Next up, Jezebel. It's directed by Kevin Grutert, who was involved with the last 4 Saw films. So you can probably guess where maybe Jezebel goes. It follows the character who's played by Sarah Snook. So you can tell the reason why I got her name wrong there. She plays the character of Jessie. She's returned home after having a car accident or hauled home. She's looked after by her father. She discovers a videotape one day under a bed, and it's her mother. Her mother, just before she passes away, sort of like when Jezebel was very, very young. And her mother's doing a reading on Jezebel's supposedly 18th birthday, which is when she was supposedly being given the tape. But bad things she can predict. And obviously the father doesn't want this, so he burns the tape, and she discovers another tape when another reading's getting done. And the mother again believes that something wrong is going to happen to Jessie, and evidently that's the case, because the house that she's living in, it starts to get haunted, and it is another one of those bang possession kind of films, and it's boring, to be honest. Kevin Grutert showed slight promise a little bit with a little few inventive deaths in the Saw films, but after you got past number 4, it became a series that felt so stagnant you just yawned rather than feel repulsed by it. This film is just very stereotypical. It is one of those checklist kind of movies. We've got to have a creepy setting, check. We've got to have a possessed girl, check. We've got to have an uncompromising position, check. We've got to have a love interest from a previous past and coming back to supposedly rekindle that love interest, check. But he's got to actually have a family, check. So it is a check film, which is boring, to be honest. It's completely forgettable.
Okay, If I Stay, which is the movie from R.J. Cutler, based on a novel by Gail Forman. It centers around the character of Mia, played by Chloe Grace Moretz, who is a girl who's things seem to be going fine for her, but not brilliant. She's sort of having trouble with trying to meet this boy that she likes and ask him out, and sort of kind of turns away and runs away in sort of ways when he's possibly asking her out. Life isn't good with her family. She's got her mother, played by Mirelle Enyos, her father, played by Joshua Leonard, I believe it is, and her younger brother. They're all sort of everything going good. She plays the cello. It's a big thing for her, because you see in flashbacks how she got interested in that. Her father was you learn that her father was in a band when she was very little and growing up. This sort of musical interest passed on to her, but not in sort of rock bands, sort of things, more in classical music. She's then in a car accident, which then results in her being in a coma, but not quite being in a coma, because she's actually having an out-of-body experience. And as she's there and sort of watching herself being taken to hospital, and being in a coma situation of whether or not she's going to wake up from after sort of operations and such, or whether or not she is going to decide to move on. And the whole thing of this, while looking at this and having these things involving scenes that flash back to do with sort of scenes, in particular how she met her boyfriend Adam. Here's a clip.
You're Mia.
Yeah.
Good. I just wanted to clear that up. There were rumors. I'm Adam.
I know, hi.
Wow. Yo-yo ma much?
Kinda.
What's the deal with that? Is that like street or something? Yo-yo mama?
It's Chinese, and don't mock the master. It's blasphemous.
I'm sorry, my bad. Hey, I got some tickets to see a cellist.
Really?
Yeah. You interested?
You're asking me on a date?
Yeah, well, a friend of the family had the tickets and can't go. Anyhow, it's this Friday. I could pick you up. What? You can't hide in that rehearsal room forever. It's too late. I see you.
So, here's the thing with If I Stay. It's very perfunctory for me. I didn't find it was especially brilliant. I didn't think it was terrible, but the only thing that's kind of was the saving of it is that Chloe Grace Moretz is actually pretty good acting throughout it. But the problem I have with it is that it's very mundane at parts. It's very predictable. There's far too many of the flashback sequences for me. And it is too long. It's a film that is for an hour and 40 odd minutes, and I just felt it didn't need to be that long. It dragged out things, not intentionally so, just because of the fact that it felt as if it was trying to go to justify the ending by having more and more things and basically giving you too much, more this, more that, more this things, more bits of things to do with the past, so that the character could then, make their decision. And it really just felt like it was dragging it out, so that it felt like it was going, oh, this is a film, we need to make it a long film, and it didn't. And that to me is the problem with it. It doesn't bring anything new to the table. There was no point in it. I was going, well, that was interesting. I haven't seen that before. I was just honestly not bored, but just sat there and kind of went, again, like you, sort of tick the boxes. Yeah, that's it. It didn't do anything.
Yeah, God. The next film, Roadkill, aka Road Train. Now, a road train, just in case you're very interested in knowing, is a huge massive truck that's got more than one trailer attached to the back of it. It's called a road train in Australia because this film's an Australian movie. You can find it on YouTube, to be honest. And it centres around 4 of the dumbest people ever created on film who end up getting involved in a car crash. Instead of trying to run away or try to seek help from the person who crashed them, they decide to walk up to the truck to see if anybody's there. They discover that nobody's there in the truck and decide to take the truck themselves. However, bad things start to happen. You can tell by the sound of my voice that this film is brilliant. Yeah, honestly, this film is terrible. It's trash beyond trash. It is that bad. When it comes up with the excuse of what the truck is, it just becomes so laughable that there is a film that I reviewed a little while ago called Blood Car. It was an indie film that was released in the UK about 6-7 years ago, and then that's unofficially released in the UK about 6-7 years ago because it was shown on the Horror Channel in the UK. And then they thought, we need to give this an official release. I don't know why they decided to do that, but it was about a car that the only way you could actually power the car was by human bits and bodies, and so they get pushed into a trunk, that the bodies get grounded up, and that gets turned into its petrol. I think the director saw that film and thought, let's try this with a huge massive truck and let's make the plot point so ridiculous that there's so many plot holes. It's bigger than a huge massive black hole, these plot holes. They are so huge. Like, there is one scene where the truck supposedly drove off into the outback of Australia and just managed to maroon itself on top of this mountain bit. Yet the people who supposedly can't drive are able to drive a huge massive truck in the smallest gaps off this cliff area. Honestly, it begs to believe. And then they decide to come up, oh, we really need to show what this truck is in the last 10-15 minutes. It's possessing people. It's grinding up people. It's stupid. It's bad. It's terrible. It's atrocious. It's horrible. It's god awful.
How much do you think the budget was on it?
About 2 pence.
Seriously, how much do you reckon? Give it an idea of a budget.
I'm killing about 20 pence.
I'm being serious because I want to tie that into the last film.
I'm not sure what the budget's on it, but it can't be any more than... If it's more than 100 grand, 100,000 Australian dollars, then I'm going to be stupidly shocked.
Okay, because I'm just asking that because I was just looking into Life After Beth, the last film I'm doing, which is a sort of a comedy zombie horror film, and that has a budget of $2.4 million, which seems like a lot, but it's a small indie film.
Yeah, Road Train had a budget of $1 million.
$1 million, okay.
Can't believe that.
This is an indie film. That sounds quite surprising, but okay, this is an indie film that has a $2.4 million budget, and it's a film which has the main character played by Dane DeHaan. His girlfriend, at the very beginning of the film, we learn she's died, she's buried, the funerals, everything goes ahead. He's still dealing with the situation, sort of struggling with it. Still goes to visit her parents, played by John C. Reilly and Molly Shannon. Surprisingly, finds out that Beth is actually still there and alive, or so it would seem. And it turns out that she's not quite there, alive. She is, in fact, turning into a zombie. And there's this sort of this weird ongoing thing of that he's struggling dealing with this. He finally finds out and gets in there, and the parents sort of keep her quiet, keeping everything, but then sort of her father agrees to sort of let him see her and sort of, you know, keep an eye on her, make sure she's okay and everything. Turns out she's not okay, and then, as you can see, imagine sort of the rest of the town also, weird things like that to do with zombies start happening. It's a film that, for me, has a nice idea of how to do something different with zombies, but then doesn't really capitalise on it. It doesn't really do much different. Has this weird thing of that there's this nice odd sort of humorous thing where the zombies start liking jazz to sort of, it settles their mood and things like that, and it's an odd sort of thing, little sort of quirky things like that. It is a quirky film, but it just, for me, wasn't quirky enough or didn't do enough to really try and differentiate itself from other zombie movies that have come before. I found that Dane DeHaan is really good in it. Aubrey Plaza, who plays Beth, I think she's okay in it, but I don't necessarily think she was the best casting choice for it. It's a film that it feels very much like a indie film that's trying to be more, but failing at that. It doesn't know what it wants to do. It's just trying to go, oh yeah, we can do big budget film. Look at this, and then it goes, yeah, and you see it and you go, yeah, that doesn't look big budget. It looks indie, but that's okay. But just don't just do that. You know, do your own thing, and that's where it fails.
I actually quite liked it, to be honest. It passed the time away quite well. There is a few little humorous bits and bobs, and I think the relationship between Dane DeHaan's character and Aubrey Plaza's one works really well. I really liked her mother and father. I thought they had the humour to the movie.
They got some of the best laughs of the whole film.
Yeah,
so Riley especially.
Yeah, so I quite liked it. It is one of those movies where I would like seek out and maybe buy it for full price and then watch it a couple of times. It's one of those ones where if I went into a local shop and saw it for £5, I wouldn't mind spending that much on it. I wouldn't be annoyed of spending that much on it. But it is an entertaining film every now and again.
Yeah, I didn't think it lived up to what it was trying to do. Is the problem. So I didn't think it was. I actually thought it was a bit. It just felt as if there were so many missed opportunities in it that it was disappointing. So,
well, that's it for the Blu-ray and DVD's release of this week. Trust me, next week we could be here until midnight because there is a lot of releases next week. But me and Andy will actually go through that, and you'll find information on the website. TV movie of the week first before I give out all the shout-outs and stuff.
And then you do movie of the week before we forget.
Yeah, I'll not forget that.
My TV movie of the week I've got is Sunday the 8th of February on Film 4, 9 o'clock. It was your film on Friday.
Yes.
Paul, which is the Simon Pegg, Nick Frost's one. It's not directed by their bosom buddy
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright, but it is still quite good. I mean, it kind of, you feel that it's not. You feel the difference. I can't imagine how much better it would have been with Edgar Wright, but it's okay. It's funny. It has moments, and the thing that's really surprising is the fact that how much Seth Rogen as the voice of Paul is genuinely quite good at it and funny, and he's a great voice actor. I realised recently after watching Monsters vs. Alien, he's a great comedy voice actor. Less annoying than he is when he's on screen, but yeah, really good, enjoyable, laughable fun, and some great cameos by people from the science fiction films universe.
Yeah, and ironically, we're reviewing Seth Rogen film next week, the film that caused a lot of controversy. So, yeah, my TV movie of the week is on Friday, the 6th of February, on Film 4, also at 11:05. It's End of Watch. It's David Ayer's best film, I think.
I almost picked that.
When you said Friday, I was going, yeah, please don't, because I was struggling to try and find anything. To be honest, it's not a very strong week when it comes to films on TV. But End of Watch is a very well acted, very well made film. It's down to the partnering of the two people in the film, Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena. And so I think they both play a duo really well. Jake Gyllenhaal, again, he's my favourite actor. He can't put a foot wrong, in my opinion.
Before we go on as well, can I just say, because I did note it, but I didn't write it down. The same day, Sunday, as Paul, the film that's shown before it on Film 4, I feel I should mention it, because it is a film that I really like and really wasn't expecting to like when I saw it last year or the year before. And that is Company Men, which I think is 6:55. It was a 12, but I'm guessing if it's showing that early, it might be a little bit edited for language or something. But it's a really good drama with Tommy Lee Jones and Ben Affleck in a good acting role, and it's about the recession and guys that have been working for a company get laid off and struggle finding a job in the recession. And surprisingly, it's a really good drama, and that's on before Paul on Sunday. I think it's 6:55, something like that. Check Film 4. But it's, if you're looking for something to watch on Sunday, you know, if it starts raining or as somewhere they're predicting snowing, and you're thinking, oh, I don't want to go outside, and you want to find something to stick on, you can do worse.
Yeah, I think Mark from Following the Nerd is telling us to wrap up at ASAP. So we'll end the show there. Make sure you check out our website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk, and Mark, with him being in the live chat there, a small little website called followingthenerd.com. Check out his banners that he does for the show each week, because the show goes up on followingthenerd.com. He makes some fantastic banners. They are brilliant.
It's fortunate I'm not playing at the end of the show where I was planning on playing, because I was planning on playing a track, if I could have got it, from the soundtrack to Jupiter
Ascending.
Because the soundtrack's been released and I'm listening to it and loving it, but I've got a clip of something else instead. So
yeah, just for the hijack there. But yeah, it is a fantastic banner, so make sure you check that stuff out on followingthenerd.com. Also, check out Facebook page, facebook.com/Monday Movie Show. Email us, mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com. Twitter, @Monday Movie Show. I'm @Cryptic Tadpole. Andrew's @EHDVD. You can also find From Page to Screen, which is Stuart's all huge, massive empire. He's kicking off his podcasts again because he's been away for the last few weeks. And also the charity that we support, sevenfoundation.org.uk, and Following the Nerd is not going to get another shout-out. There. You happy now? Right, movie of the week.
Yeah, as much as I was going to say at the beginning of the week was Kingsman, it's now trash.
What, Kingsman is now trash?
No, my movie of the week is trash.
That's better, but it's just the way you constructed that sentence. Kingsman is now trash.
No, it was Kingsman was going to be my movie of the week, and then I saw trash on what day did I see trash? Actually, I can't remember. Friday, I think. Thursday, yeah. Friday. Yeah.
Well, my movie of the week is going to make Mark slightly happy. It is Big Hero 6. That is my movie of the week, because he has just put in the live chat there, Big Hero 6 FTW. So Big Hero 6 for the win. We will be back next week, hopefully Monday. If that's the case, Monday we're switching times to 8:30. It's just to relieve Andrew a little bit more, considering that even though I also work a 9 to 5:30 job, I can get back in time. He can't. He's slightly inept in that front. So we will be doing Monday shows from 8:30. Sunday shows, I think we'll do them around about 8 o'clock. Just stick it from that.
I might need to see about Sunday next week, because there is something I was going to look at, and I need to speak with you after the show, though.
So, yeah, if the show ever moves to Sunday, it's always Andrew's fault. It's never mine. But there is going to be...
It's your fault once.
Yeah, but it's your fault about 500 times. There is going to be a time in March where we might actually even postpone the show for me, because I might not even be around on the Sunday and Monday. But we'll get to...
coming up for me as well, but that's another thing. So.
I can handle that anyway, because I can do a show on my own, you can't.
Right, we can get Nathan to fill in. Or we could even get Mark to fill in.
Yeah, do you think he wants to actually stick and do a show with me for 90 minutes? Don't think so. It'd probably be torture for him. Right, we'll end the show there. That's it. We'll play you out with a clip from a movie that we will be reviewing next week, and it's one of the Oscar contention films in Selma. And so until next week, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
As long as I am unable to exercise my constitutional right to vote, I do not have command of my own life. I cannot determine my own destiny, for it is determined for me by people who would rather see me suffer than succeed. Those that have gone before us say, no more, no more. That means protest, that means march, that means disturb the peace, that means jail, that means risk, and that is hard. We will not wait any longer. Give us the vote. That's right. No more. We're not asking, we're demanding. Give